One of Merriam-Webster's definitions of history is a usually chronological record of events as of the life or development of a people or an institution, often including an explanation of or a commentary on those events. Sisters and brothers, I would like to share a bit of history with you. Reaching this point has not been easy for the United Progressive Party. It has been a struggle, decades old. The Antigua Labour Party was dictatorial and despotic in its domination of this country. They dominated the media landscape and the political landscape. They had every single seat in Parliament. Every seat, brothers and sisters. Do you remember? Birds of a feather feathered their nests by filling their bank accounts. Out of touch with reality, but with their dead army of voters list, they were unassailable in their complete domination of power. Any opposition back then, individual or organized, was marginalized, victimized, and intimidated. Do you remember, my brothers and sisters? Then there was 1989. What a revolutionary year it was. The Berlin Wall came down and the Brandenburg Gate swung open, bringing freedom to millions of Germans who had never known it. In China, thousands of students occupied Tiananmen Square in Beijing, protesting for democracy. Martial law was declared and hundreds of demonstrators were killed. In South Africa, violence in black townships worsened with over 2,500 killed, and new Prime Minister F.W. de Klerk started to dismantle apartheid. 1989 was an historical year for freedom. Oh yes. And in that very year, something else happened right here on this little rock. Something and someone that changed the trajectory of this nation of Antigua and Barbuda happened. There was an opposition member of parliament elected, just one, a standalone patriot, a soldier without an army. A son of the soil, armored in determination and driven by a cause, a single voice, but not a single note. Standing against wrong and corruption was your servant leader, Winston Baldwin Spencer. The beginning of slow and steady change had begun. The powers that were at that time probably didn't think much would come of this one man, because they failed to recognize the strength of character and the mettle and measure of the man. That one seat signaled a single ray of sunshine, a renewed hope, the privilege of political choice which had eluded us for a long time. Winston Baldwin Spencer was a flag bearer for freedom, and we rallied around him. The Antigua Caribbean Liberation Movement, ACLM, the Progressive Labor Movement, PLM, the United National Democratic Party, UNDP, these disparate groups made a historic decision in 1992 to fight under a united flag, to unite behind a single standard. Some of those who came together then to fight for a better future for Antigua and Barbuda are here in this room. Some have left us and are watching our fight from a distance. In April 1993, the first convention was convened, and the first elected chairman was Vincent Tubby Derrick. The first general secretary, Burton Barnes, and the first public relations officer, Valerie Harris Poe. She's outside, busy as ever. Note that our party has a track record of embracing and elevating women since even back then. You can take a bow now, Valerie. She's always working. I just mentioned you. Even back then, a senior female executive was elected in the person of Valerie Harris Poe. Winston Baldwin Spencer was the first political leader. What a guide. What a visionary leader for that infant party back in 1992. Leadership matters, my brothers and sisters. It mattered then, and it matters now more than ever. He guided the new party through the elections of 1994. Do you remember our army of 4 MPs? I do. Honorable Baldwin Spencer, Honorable Wilmoth Daniel, Honorable Hilson Baptist, and the late Honorable Charlesworth Samuel. We thought we had them in 1999. Even they thought we had them in 1999. That was a year of yet another stolen election. And I am not afraid to call a red spade a red spade. It was a year of another stolen election. This nation was crying out by this point on its political knees, screaming for the Red Party to reform. At that point, the last re-registration had been held in 1975. 1975, brothers and sisters, when the voting age was lowered to 18. Every Jumbi in cemetery who had died between 1979 and 1999 was voting Labour. And that, brothers and sisters, included my late father, who passed in 1994, but who still voted in the 1999 elections. Any wonder that they won? The frustrated and weak of heart might have given up, might have left politics, discouraged, deflated, defeated, but not Baldwin Spencer. No way. This man, unassuming, indomitable, courageous, and bold, strengthened by Cook's Pond water and nurtured by a community of will and buoyancy. This rock of Antiguan and Barbudan politics, forged in unionism, did not give up. Baldwin Spencer does not quit. Baldwin Spencer and his colleagues in the UPP, we are fighters, not quitters, patriots, not traitors. Baldwin Spencer and the UPP fought and won electoral reform. We made that happen. And so there was 2004, a landslide victory for the United Progressive Party. You, lovers of this fair land, chose good over evil. You voted for that better future we had all envisioned. Now, let me tell you about modern political history, my sisters and brothers. Let me remind you about how the UPP completed and opened the new hospital, the Mount St. John's Medical Center, where our babies are born and our unwell are cared for. Let me remind you about how the UPP built and opened the Sir Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium, giving the West Indies a new world-class home here in Antigua and honoring our living legend, our national hero, Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards. Let me tell you about how the UPP completed the National Public Library, a project which languished for 40 long years. Let me tell you about how this government is building a new state-of-the-art airport terminal, which will be the envy of the Caribbean. Nobody has anything on us. As Sister Joanne would say, we small, but we think big. We little, but we tallow. Let me remind you about the UPP's iCare program, under which hundreds of Antiguans and Barbudans received free eye care, which has helped them to be able to stand the bright rays of sunshine, government in the sunshine. And I think Veronica is here. Veronica? Yes. Let me tell you about our school uniform grant program, which has eased the burden on parents and empowered local seamstresses and tailors. Let me remind you about our National School Meals Program, which provides nutrition for learning for those parents and children and teachers who need it. Empowerment for those vegetable and poultry and livestock farmers, and employment for the scores of workers at the National School Meal Centers. Let me remind you, how we revolutionized information technology in schools and ministries and homes. And in the region, we are recognized as the indisputable leader in IT penetration in the Caribbean. Some ostriches may have their heads in the sand, my brothers and sisters, because as Barbara Streisand says, or sings, what's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. But brothers and sisters, I know who have not forgotten it, because it is your reality. It is my reality. It is our reality. A chapter in history that we have written together. Only a chapter, for the rest is still unwritten. I somehow feel like a pastor. Forgive me, Pastor Roberts, on a Sunday morning. But if I'm preaching, it is because I have a pastor's blood coursing through my veins. And it is because these accomplishments are worth sharing and shouting about. And because when a people have a will, we are an unstoppable force. So allow me, retreat, as Brother Harold would say, no surrender, no retreat. Let me testify to the fact that we paid government employees back pay that was owed from 1994, 10 years prior to our coming to office. Let me testify that we increased pensions. Our pensioners have more to spend, not having to eke out a measly living on $200 a month. But they can live their twilight days in dignity. Let me testify to the fact that we implemented universal secondary education, giving all our students with their God-given abilities a chance at a secondary education, which is not a privilege for some, but a right for all. Let me testify to the fact that we created new free preschools and early childhood facilities, ensuring that children are afforded that ever-important foundation, which is critical to their academic and social potentials. These are not little things, my people. These are the essence of life, the very nuts and bolts of family, community, and society. More ambulances and better equipped police, increasing efficiency in our essential services, people's benefit programs for those who are financially challenged because of physical and mental differences on both sides of the political divide, I may add. Programs for vulnerable mothers and a decent and dignified program of benefits for our seniors who spent a lifetime looking after us, again, on both sides of the political divide. We are giving them their just deserts because it is a right. to do so. And before long, many of us will be old as well. I ask you, did this all happen by accident? My people, that question is rhetorical and does not beg an answer. These accomplishments grew from the vision which this movement had developed over the years of struggle and pain and of heartbreak and deceit. And they were laid out in two documents, one presented by this party in 2004 and again in 2009. We were bold enough to promise these things and had the dynamism, vision, and fortitude to have delivered what we promised. And our country is better as a result of it all. I will say again, we have delivered. That is why I'm so proud to be here today. And I'd like to share the thanks expressed by my chairman and by our colleagues for your presence, for your belief and trust, for your support and love of country. This charter, which today is simply a vision, will take our country through the next 5 years to a brighter future. Today it is a vision, but one that will become reality, as was the case in 2004 and again in 2009. The program we are presenting is ambitious, but we are an ambitious people with great potential, and we can achieve anything. And now we present you with this charter. Today, my sisters and brothers, we present you the future.